rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. There shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes, and this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world, and then shall the end come.
Tell us, when will these things be? And what will be the sign of your coming and of the end of the age?
Welcome to today's End of the Age broadcast. I'm Jim Stiglman, sitting in here for Irvin Baxter. He is on the road today in Springfield, Missouri, and he'll be joining us shortly. He had a little flight delay, and he's rushing feverishly to get to his hotel room so he could connect with us. But the reason he's in Springfield, Missouri is because tomorrow night, that's Saturday night at 6 p.m., he's going to be doing a prophecy conference at the University Plaza Hotel. That's tomorrow night, August 27th at 6 p.m. And he's going to be speaking on America's God-given destiny. Now, if you've listened to the show any in the last year or so, you know that this is one of our newer videos where we're actually going to, he's actually going to be telling you about America's future. What it's foretold in Bible prophecy. Will we join the one world government or will we not? Will America be under the mark of the beast or will we not? And will we forsake Israel or will we stand by Israel? So these are some of the exciting things that Irvin's going to be telling us or telling you guys tomorrow night in Springfield, Missouri at 6 o'clock at the University Plaza Hotel. Let me say that right this time, University Plaza Hotel. Again, he's going to be talking about America's God-given destiny. And he's also going to be in Springfield, Missouri on Sunday, August 28th. So that's the next day this weekend, August 28th at 10 a.m. and at 12 p.m. And both those times he'll be at the Calvary United Pentecostal Church. That's 3010 West Nichols Street in Springfield. So that's the Calvary United Pentecostal Church, 3010 West Nichols Street in Springfield, Missouri. And both of those sessions, one at 10 and one at 12 noon, he'll be speaking on breaking prophetic fulfillments and have a question and answer session. And so if you've not set in on any of Irvin's prophecy conferences where he's done a question and answer session, this is something you really want to go and do because it's Katie bar to door, no holds bar. You ask the question, he'll do his best to answer it. So that's again on Sunday at 10 and at 12. That's August 28th, this Sunday at the Calvary United Pentecostal Church, 3010 West Nichols Street in Springfield, Missouri. And again tomorrow night at 6 p.m., August 27th, at the University Plaza Hotel, where he'll be speaking on America's God-given destiny. So those are some prophecy conferences going on this weekend in the Springfield, Missouri area that you won't want to miss. Again, if you're just joining us, I'm Jim Stiglman, sitting in for Irvin Baxter. He'll be joining us a little bit later today, once he gets to his hotel room and gets hooked up. And so I'm just going to bring you some of the articles I've found in the last couple of days. You got to find out that when I sit in here, sometimes I have to fill. So I want to have something to say if I've got to fill. And this one I thought was kind of interesting because it seems like, according to this article at least, out of New York, that there's going to be an election of a new United Nations head. A new Secretary General of the United Nations. And our title of this article is Electing a New UN Chief, a Woman, an East European, or who? And this article goes on to say, ahead of the third straw poll, an upcoming game of musical chairs, on August 29th, Secretary General Ban Ki-moon has made public his preference for a woman to replace him as the head of the United Nations. It's high time now for a female Secretary General, Ban Ki-moon said, after 8 men at the helm of the World Organization over the last 70 years. And his second term comes to an end this year, December 31st of this year. So come 2017, we'll have a new Secretary General. Now, I knew that they at the UN elected new Secretary Generals every so often, and that they took them from different regions of the world. But I did not realize that it was this year that we are changing Secretary Generals. And current Secretary General Ban Ki-moon wants to have a woman take his place. He said it's high time. He goes on to say, and this is a quote from this article, "We have many distinguished and eminent women leaders in national governments or other organizations or even business communities, political communities, and cultural and every aspect of our life," he said in an Associated Press interview on August 11th. "There's no reason why not in the United Nations." It is the first time that an outgoing Secretary General has made his preference public, just as it is the first time that the process of the election of the world's highest post, whose incumbent is expected to be a world's moderator, has become transparent, thanks due to the current UN General President Mangez Leitkov. Now, why do you say we're talking about the United Nations and a new head? Well, if you've listened to this program any at all, you know that we feel that the United Nations is going to be a one world government, or is a one world government. It's going to be the one that quite possibly the Antichrist is going to use to help control the world. And in fact, that's going on today. We have all these UN mandates to a lot of the countries that rise up having problems. Well, let's take it to the UN, they say. Let's take it to the UN, let them decide. And so the leader of the United Nations is going to be a very important person in end-time Bible prophecy. I mean, that's going to be a person that's going to be making decisions and help making the decisions that's going to shape world government in the end time. And so now with a new Secretary General coming in, and regardless whether it's a woman or a guy, this person is going to be in a very important seat in world affairs. It could actually shape the way the world governments of the world are going to look in the very near future. And this is important because we've got a lot of things coming ahead right now in the world that concerning Bible prophecy. We got the Israeli-Palestinian problem. You know, we got to get a peace agreement there. They can't hammer it out on their own. There's been multiple calls for the United Nations to step in and to actually, take over. And so with a new Secretary General coming up at the beginning of 2017, if it's a woman, as Ban Ki-moon wants it to be, she's going to be the one that's going to be calling the strings on the Mideast Peace Treaty. Because we also know another thing that could happen very soon is a war from the Euphrates River area. Well, you know, if the Third World War happens and we've got a new Secretary General and, you know, she or he, whoever it's going to be, is going to, greatly influence what happens in that region of the world. And so that's just a little bit of an article, again, entitled "Electing a New UN Chief, a Woman, an East European, or Who?" out of New York, ahead of the changing of the guard at the United Nations, so to speak. Well, I see we have Irvin here with us. Irvin is joining us from Springfield, Missouri, and Irvin is doing prophecy conferences, as I've already said at the beginning of the program, Saturday night and Sunday morning in Springfield. We've given you all those details, and he's here to lead us in the rest of this show with our Open Line Friday.
Jim, it's one of those travel days when every airplane is late and the baggage comes out late, and so we've been racing to get here. Thank you all for your patience, and Jim, thank you very much for filling in for me while I was a little bit late to the program today. Nevertheless, this is Open Line, and we want everybody out there that would like to be a part of this program to start dialing. The number to call is 877-END-TIME. That's 877-363-8463. Also, I want to just tell you something that's breaking today that is just amazing. This article has just come out. The article is entitled, let me see if I can give you the exact title because it's so important. The article talks about earthquakes, and let me give you the exact title because I want everybody to hear. Life on the Fault Lines. This comes from news.com.au. Major earthquakes overdue and no one in the world is safe, expert says. Now, the reason this is just absolutely so important is because the Bible prophesies the greatest earthquake the world has ever known in the not too distant future. And here this prophecy expert says, he says these major earthquakes are overdue. Of course, this is in the aftermath of the big earthquake in Italy, and that no one in the world is safe. Then the prophecies that actually tell this, they're located in Revelation chapter 6, chapter 8, chapter 11, chapter 14, chapter 16, chapter 18. There are 6 different mentions of one specific earthquake which the Bible says will be the greatest earthquake the world has ever known. And Jim, I want to read that scripture while people are taking time to dial. I want everybody to be able to see this for themselves. It's Revelation. Let me see. Let's read. I want to read the one that says it's the greatest that will ever be. That's found in Revelation 16, verse 17. This is at the time of the Battle of Armageddon. And verse 16, it says, and he gathered them into a place called in the Hebrew tongue Armageddon. It's the only time that word is used in the entire Bible. There are other references to it, but the only other time, that's the only time the word Armageddon is used. And then in verse 17, here's what it says. And the 7th angel poured out his vial. You know, there are 7 seals, 7 trumpets, 7 vials. Well, now we're at the 7th vial. And the 7th angel poured out his vial into the air. And there came a great voice out of the temple of heaven from the throne saying, it is done. Wow, there's something very final sounding about that. And then verse number 18, and there were voices and thunders and lightnings, and there was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth, so mighty an earthquake and so great. Notice that phrase. There was a great earthquake, such as was not since men were upon the earth. It'll be the greatest earthquake the world has ever known. And here this expert is saying that we are overdue for some of the greatest earthquakes the world has ever known. Now, this earthquake won't happen for at least 7 or 8 years. There may be other earthquakes in the meantime, but as far as this one, the greatest one the world has ever known, will only happen right now. So anyway, I wanted everybody to see exactly what was happening. And I also want to get connected up with you, Jim. We'll do that whenever. But in the meantime, as soon as you have callers on that want to get on this program, I am ready to receive callers at any time.
We do have a few, and so we can go there right now. The number to talk to Irvin is 1-877-END-TIME. That's 1-877-363-8463. And let's go to New Jersey right now. And Phil, you're first up today on End of the Age.
Yes, good afternoon and happy Friday, Brother Baxter.
Thank you very much. Nice to hear from you.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to hear from you, and I'm glad you're there safe, and we can all understand the delays, so no problem. Quick refresher for you and the audience. I was a Roman Catholic from the Northeast for over 40 years. Got your 14 DVD program a year or two ago. I listened and watched that. I listened to the radio program an hour to work and an hour back from work. I've read Malachi Martin's book, Windswept House, 600-page book, twice, and I was doing a little research on Vatican-approved quotes. I know, by the way, 9 months ago, I had a fully submersed baptism that you and Dave Robbins connected me with in New Jersey. So I have, as you know, come out of her my people. But I wanted to share to my Roman Catholic friends and those who are under the cloud of false Protestantism, which, as we can see with everything that's going on in the world and the ecumenical movement, will be coming together. But I was researching some Vatican-approved quotes, and this is a quote that is, and I have references on Wikipedia I can point you to, it says, quote, Rome will lose the faith and become the seat of the Antichrist, close quote. Now, we know
now,
that's a false prophet. But,
now, who said this? Where's this quote from?
Yep. So it's a little bit complicated, but I'll make it simple. This was a Vatican-approved quote both by Pope Pius IX on September the 19th 1851, and it was again confirmed almost 40 years later on August 21st in 1879 by Pope Leo XIII. And there's more, if you want me to continue a little bit.
Yeah, well, I just want to pause here just a moment because I know your testimony quite well, and it's a marvelous testimony. But there's so much going on in the religious world that the average person simply does not know. There are several Catholic prophecy books out there that talk about an evil pope coming, and he will be the last pope, and during the days of his papacy, that Rome will be destroyed. Well, I opened up just now talking about the great earthquake that is coming, and the Bible teaches that earthquake will hit Israel, and 7,000 will be killed in Jerusalem. But that earthquake is going to be so worldwide that it's also going to hit Rome. The Bible tells us that the mountains and the islands will be moved out of their places. It is going to be the world's greatest earthquake ever. I just read it from the scriptures from Revelation chapter number 16, verse number 18. And it also goes on to say in verse 20, and every island fled away and the mountains were not found. When Jesus Christ comes back to this earth, there's going to be this huge earthquake. So what you're telling us now, there is a huge move right now to reunify Christianity. A lot of the Protestants now say, we have no more reason to protest. We now agree with the Catholic Church on the subject of justification by faith. And many of them planning on going to Rome in 2017, since it's the 500th anniversary of Martin Luther nailing the 95 Theses to the door of the church at Wittenberg, Germany, which started the Reformation. They're planning on going back to Rome next year on the 500th anniversary and signing a statement of unity of faith and purpose. And they say, how can we reach the world? The Bible says that I want them to be one so that the whole world may believe. These people believe that we must go into unity in order to convert the world. And so they're planning on doing this right now. And they've already been talking to the Pope Francis, about this. They've been sharing videos between them. They've been having meetings. So the Bible prophesies that most Christians, both Protestant and Catholic, will be deceived and will follow the false prophet into this alliance with the Antichrist himself. And anybody that does not go along will be considered a heretic and will become an object of the Great Tribulation. So what you're saying today, even though I know we're throwing a lot at people right now and people may be gulping for air, how in the world could all that be? But we do have a DVD called True Christianity versus False Christianity. And that DVD will show you where all this is in the Bible. But let me warn you, all of you listening, if you don't love the truth, don't get that DVD because it'll make you angry. And you will end up angry at me because I'm the person that made the DVD. And I don't want you angry at me. So if you don't love the truth, just don't bother. But if you love the truth and really want to know what's going on underneath the surface, then the name of the DVD, it's actually the second DVD of our 4 DVD salvation package. And it's called True Christianity versus False Christianity. Well, I didn't mean to jump in on you there, but you were saying so many good things. I just had to take advantage of it to let everybody know what's really going on in our world right now.
No, please. Obviously, this is very collaborative. This is also part of the quote, and again, you can find this on Wikipedia. I did not make this up. There's 25 references to this. Quote, all the civil governments will have one and the same plan, which will be to abolish and do away with every religious principle to make way for materialism, atheism, spiritualism, and vice of all kinds, close quote.
You know, I don't know, did you ever read the book, also written by Malachi Martin? The name of the book was The Final Conclave. Did you read that one?
Yes, I have, and I've also read The Keys of This Blood.
Yeah, well, in The Final Conclave, he wrote that book because he said there were powerful forces within the Roman Catholic hierarchy that felt like that they had to make a deal with communism, and that when they made this deal, that they would then be able to dominate the world. However, Malachi Martin opposed that plan, and this was right before the death of Pope John Paul II, and they knew they were getting ready to elect. No, wait a minute, I've got this wrong. It was right before the death of Pope Paul VI, and they knew Pope Paul VI was terminally ill, and so they decided that they needed to the communist faction, the Marxist faction of the church, which is very powerful and very large. They decided that they needed to elect a pro-communist pope the next time. However, Malachi Martin wrote the book Final Conclave to try to head that off. And he said if they do elect a pro-communist pope, that they will use the alliance with the church to gain control of the whole world. Then they will turn on the church and they will destroy her so that they can have their one world Marxist atheistic regime. Well, when the Pope died a few months later after I read that book, I was watching very carefully as to who they would elect, and they elected Pope John Paul I. And Pope Malachi Martin, he wanted to get the church back to its spiritual mission and get the church out of politics. Well, I was looking to see whether Malachi Martin's guy won or whether the pro-communist won, and he was only in office for 33 days, I think it was, and he died unexpectedly during the night. Now, they said it was a heart attack, but he had never had a day's heart trouble in his life. Many people believe he was poisoned. As a matter of fact, there are several books out there, and Malachi Martin himself ended up believing that he, in fact, was assassinated. So consequently, apparently it was the Pope they didn't want, the one that was going to get them out of politics and get them back to the spiritual mission of the church.
Yes, that's
However,
right. And I have studied Malachi Martin extensively, and I cannot disprove anything that he has said. And let me just continue a little bit more with the quote. And this really, really kind of scared me, especially in light of the entire global Roman Catholic sex scandal. And this, again, is still the Vatican-approved quote from the 1800s twice. Quote, the priests, talking about the priests of the Roman Catholic Church, ministers of my son, the priests, by their wicked lives, by their irreverence and their impiety in the celebration of the holy mysteries, by their love of money, their love of honors and pleasures, and the priests have become cesspools of impurity. Yes, the priests are asking for vengeance, and vengeance is hanging over their heads. Woe to the priests and those dedicated to God, who by their unfaithfulness and their wicked lives are crucifying my son again. The sins of those dedicated to God cry out towards heaven and call for vengeance, and now vengeance is at their door, for there is no one left to beg for mercy and forgiveness for their people. There is no more generous souls. There is no one worthy of offering a state to the eternal for the sake of the world, close quote.
Okay, well, listen, I've held you on a long, long time, and I appreciate it. Before you go, I'd like for you to tell us, how long were you in the Roman Catholic Church yourself?
40 years. I was born in 74. I was baptized. I was married in the Roman Catholic Church.
And then you began to get your eyes open to a lot of things, and that's the reason you're calling today. Well, listen, we really appreciate it, always appreciate you, because, you know, it takes a love of God to leave an institution that you have been born in, trained in, loved, to say, wait a minute, this is not true. And so you make that decision. The only way you're going to do that is if you love truth above everything else. And so we really appreciate the fact that you have done that. So we'll let you go, but thank you very much for the phone call.
Have a blessed weekend. Thanks, guys.
Now, I want to real quickly pick up before we hit our break, because I wanted to let everybody know what happened. After Pope John Paul I was assassinated, there's a book out there called In God's Name by David Yallop, and he gives the details from the inside as to why he knows that Pope was assassinated. There was another book written by two men, and I believe the name of that book was Vatican. And then Mr. Malachi Martin himself, who was the foremost author in the Roman Catholic religion for many, many years. He wrote 25 books. He himself was a Jesuit priest. He was an intimate friend with Pope John XXIII. He himself told me personally that he believed that Pope John Paul I was assassinated. Well, they call another conclave to elect the next pope, Pope John Paul II. And when the votes were counted, they elected this man from Poland, whose number one claim to fame was that he had presided over an alliance between the Catholic Church and communism in Poland, all during the Cold War era. And the church had not only survived, but thrived. So it looked like the man that they wanted to elect, who was able to forge an alliance with Catholicism, it looked like they got their person in Pope John Paul II. So it's an interesting saga. When you get into it, it'll end up making your head absolutely spin. But nevertheless, it's an amazing story. Okay, well, listen, Jim, I think we're getting really close to our first break. Let me tell folks once again, since I'm going to be here in Springfield, Missouri, I'm going to be here tomorrow evening, Saturday, that's August the 27th, at 6 p.m. The meeting's going to be at the University Plaza Hotel, 333 John Q. Hammonds Parkway in Springfield, Missouri. And I'd like for everyone that's within 2 or 3 or 4 hours, or 5 hours even, it doesn't matter, to make it to this meeting. I'm going to be speaking on America's God-given destiny. Everywhere I give this message, people come up to me and say, thank you. I had no idea. And I think all of you will be greatly blessed, because if we can know the future of America, will America be a part of the kingdom of the Antichrist? Will America be placed under the power of the mark of the beast? What will happen? Anyway, that's going to be Saturday night, 6 o'clock, University Plaza Hotel, 333 John Q. Hammonds Parkway. There's no admission charge. Springfield, Missouri. And then I'll be also at the local Churchill Calvary UPC on Sunday morning at 10 a.m. and also at 12 a.m. That's on the 28th of August. So if you can make it, we'd love to have you. And that number is 800 Endtime.
Endtime Ministries has taught countless Bible studies about prophecy. One of our favorite places to teach is on the Mount of Olives, where Jesus will soon return, the Temple Mount, where the third temple will soon be built, and overlooking the plain of Megiddo, where the Battle of Armageddon will soon be fought. Being in the place where prophecies will soon take place brings them to life in a breathtaking way. In other words, our favorite place to teach prophecy is while on our Israel Prophecy Tour. You can be a part of it. Join Irvin and Judy Baxter October 27th through November 7th for a life-changing trip. For more details, go to endtime.com or call 1-800-ENDTIME. Sign up today. Time is running out.
There's a specific prophecy in Daniel chapter 11, verse 32 and 33. Listen to it. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries. But the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many. So right while the Antichrist is corrupting people with his false doctrines and with his flatteries, yet there's going to be a people who are strong for God. They're going to do exploits. And their assignment is the ones who understand should be instructing others who don't understand.
To order Endtime Ministries bestseller, Understanding the End Time, call 1-800-END-TIME or go to endtime.com.
If your station does not carry the full hour of End of the Age, go to endtime.com to hear the conclusion of today's broadcast.
Well, welcome back to End of the Age. I'm Irvin Baxter, and I'm broadcasting today from Springfield, Missouri. We will be doing a conference here in Springfield tomorrow evening. That's Saturday evening at 6 p.m. at the University Plaza Hotel. Love to have you at this conference. And then on Sunday, I'll be speaking on breaking prophetic fulfillments. And there's a lot going on right now. We'll be talking about those things in depth. Also, that meeting will be held not at the hotel, but the one on Sunday is held at the Calvary United Pentecostal Church, 3010 West Nichols Street in Springfield. And there will be 2 sessions that morning. There will be one at 10 and one at 12. That session will not only be on breaking prophetic fulfillments, but after I speak on those fulfillments, we're going to throw it open for questions from the floor. So this is your chance if you've got some questions you'd like to ask. This has become very, very popular. People are enjoying it so much, and I think you will as well. So anyway, be with us. If you need more information or if you were not able to take this down, simply go to endtime.com, endtime.com. Click on the events button, and there you'll see conferences, and it'll give you all the information you need for Saturday evening at 6, Sunday morning at 10, and again at 12. This is open line, which means it's your day, and Jim Stickelman is anchoring the program back at my office, back at our office in Plano, Texas. So, Jim, as soon as we're ready, I'm operating blind here because we were not able so far to get our connection where I can see the callers, and maybe you're not able to do that, and that's okay because I trust you explicitly, Jim. Don't let me down. Anyway, I'm
We
going to
do have 5 callers online if you want to go to the phones right now.
Okay, let's go.
All right, let's go now to Charlie from Mississippi. You're next up on End of the Age.
Hello.
Hi, Charlie.
Hello, Irvin.
Yes.
I can barely hear you, but this is my first time calling, and I've been listening to you for 15 years on the radio in New Orleans, whatever radio stations they have there that's playing your program, and I've been listening on the internet for 5 or 6 years. I just want to tell you thank you for all your help, first of all, letting people know the truth.
Well, thank you, Charlie, and I appreciate you being a first-time caller today after all these years.
Well, I've been listening a lot and talking very little. But I have several things I want to tell you. First of all, a small thing here. I sent you a crazy letter one time, an email, that got all jumbled up when I tried to edit it, and it got it all messed up where it was kind of hard to read. But it was everything I could find in the Bible about months of research, confirming the post-tribulation rapture at the Battle of Armageddon. I don't know if you ever got it or not. If you didn't, I'll send it again. But one thing I mentioned in there in my own comments was a little-known prophecy that Jesus spoke, saying that there will be earthquakes in divers places. Everybody, including you, seems to translate divers as diverse or varied places, and there's been earthquakes in various places all over ever since the beginning of time. But the word, if you'll check it out, the original Greek word there that was used for divers, translated divers in the King James, meant of the deep, pertaining to the ocean floor. And it was farther down the list of things that word could have meant, but still, Jesus was prophesying not earthquakes in various diverse places, but the word was divers places of the deep. And he was prophesying the Fukushima earthquake on the ocean floor. He was prophesying the Indonesian earthquake that happened like the day after Christmas, I think, 2005, I believe. It was the middle of the 20th century before modern science even figured out that plate tectonics, the ocean's, the Earth's crustal plates were floating on a molten magma core of the Earth, and that these plates were crashing together, causing earthquakes. And so Jesus predicted that, and I think you need to research that and kind of update and quit pronouncing the word diverse and start using the original King James translation as divers places pertaining to the ocean floor. I was just
Charlie,
wondering if you had ever
I'll have to do that. I don't have time to do it this moment, but I'll have to take a look
Well,
at
I
that. I'll try.
understand it's a minor thing compared to all the stuff that's going on. And
Certainly
there
try
is
to do
one
it.
big in me. I've been reading several different websites on the internet giving a lot of information about the original location of the Jewish temples. And General Titus was instructed by Caesar, I guess, to destroy Jerusalem and the temple down to the point where you could not tell that a city had ever lived there. I believe Josephus and Herodotus and several other historians of the day all recorded that the Roman 10th Legion, which was like 10 to 20,000 men, pulled up every stone of Jerusalem, especially the temple, all the way down to bedrock. In other words, they pulled out the foundation stones, they dug them out of the ground, they used Jewish slave labor to do it, and they pulled out these stones all the way down to solid bedrock. And gold coins, supposedly, showing plows where the Jewish temple once stood. That was kind of their bragging rights. And there's a bunch of different Bible verses, scripture that shows that the original temples were mounted over, or were built over the Gihon spring, and that a spring of living water, natural living water, was absolutely necessary for the Jewish temple. Could be no other. And the only spring that was ever on the Temple Mount was at the Gihon Spring.
Listen,
And,
Charlie, I've got
that's 600 feet.
Charlie, I've got a bunch of people behind you, so hit me with your main point. And
My main
appreciate
point
you
is,
coming.
my main point there is that the only building left standing after Titus's Roman 10th Legion wiped the place clean was the Temple Mount, what they call the Temple Mount today. It was the foundation built by King Herod the Great. It was the foundation of Fort Antonia. It was the headquarters of the Roman 10th Legion. It was not the place where the temples were built. The temples were built in the old city of David, 600 feet, according to Herodotus, south of the Dome of the Rock. And that all this fighting over the Temple Mount, if it could be proven, is all a waste of time, actually, because the temple was actually built in the old city of David, 600 feet south of the south wall of what they call the Temple Mount, which is actually Fort Antonia, a Roman fort.
Well, thank you very much. Thank you, Charlie. I got to let you go because I got so many people backed up, but I appreciate your contribution to the program. And let me just take a moment to comment on what Charlie has said. There's a lot of argument over whether the temple actually stood on what today is the Temple Mount or whether it stood somewhere else. And like Charlie said, they have eradicated all evidence. There's not one stone left on another. However, the only thing left is the retaining wall that was built by Herod the Great. It has the largest stones that I know of in the entire world. One stone is 8 feet high, 8 feet wide, and something like 46 feet long. There's not a crane in existence today powerful enough to lift that stone into place, yet they put it into place with not even a crack between the other stones that come up next to it. So it's an amazing thing to see. We see it every year when we go to Israel. We take our people down there so they can see for themselves, because what he did, he built a retaining wall all the way around the Temple Mount. They had an erosion problem, and by building this retaining wall and making it flat on top, he fixed that problem. And then he built the second temple, which is called Herod's Temple. Actually, the second temple had been built in 516 BC, but Herod made it much larger, much more beautiful, until it was said in that day that he that's never seen Herod's temple has never seen a beautiful building in his life. Anyway, it's so fascinating. There's a lot of different opinions about where the temple actually stood. I know there's a theory that it's not there on what's called the Temple Mount. I personally don't agree with that. Apparently Charlie thinks that is true. I'd like to see any evidence that he has. He could email that to me. But anyway, I believe that the temple did stand. But like Charlie said, it doesn't matter anyway, because Jesus told the woman at the well of Samaria, God no longer dwells in temples made with hands. And it doesn't matter whether you worship in this mountain of Samaria or whether you worship down in Jerusalem. The true worshipers now, from this day forward, must worship the Father in spirit and in truth. So all of the tension and all the squabbling over the Temple Mount, like Charlie said, is really worthless, because we know that God no longer dwells in temples made with hands. Okay, that took quite a bit of time. Jim, do we have time to squeeze one more in, or can we?
We've got 2 minutes. Do you want to
I'll tell you
try
what,
it?
let's do. I don't want to box a person in like that. We'll try to get everybody in the last segment of our program. Let me just take a moment to say to everyone here that I think a lot of people who have been listening have heard this week that Turkey launched an invasion of Syria. I think that happened early Wednesday morning, and they call it Operation Euphrates Shield. We all know that there's a prophecy in Revelation 9, verse 13 through 16, that says that a war will begin from the Euphrates River, and that it will, in fact, result in the killing of 1/3 of mankind. All 4 powers that control the Euphrates River. The Euphrates flows through 4 nations: Turkey, Syria, Iraq, and Iran. With the invasion of Turkey this week, all 4 of those nations are now fighting in this war up and down the Euphrates. Plus, Russia's there, the United States of America is there, and many other powers are there. Great Britain is involved. Others are involved. So you've got the great powers plus all 4 of the powers that control the Euphrates River fighting. Is this the beginning of that war of Revelation 9, verse 13 through 21? It certainly looks like it is. I'm not willing to say absolutely, because sometimes these things die down and go away for a while. But this war will take place, and it's amazing when we see it. When because of those things, here at Endtime Ministries, we are going ahead as rapidly as we can, because we're running out of time. Now, if you're out there and you're not yet a partner with Endtime Ministries, we need your strength. So pick up the phone and call us right now. The number to call is 1-800-END-TIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. And just tell our operators, I want to be a partner. And they'll tell you how to do it and what all it involves. Hey, we'd love to have you on board. We need you. God needs you. And you will be blessed. 800-END-TIME's the number. We'll be right back.
1 Chronicles 12:32 states, "And of the children of Issachar, which were men that had understanding of the times, to know what Israel ought to do." Jerusalem Prophecy College was created to educate the Jewish people concerning the prophecies that will come to pass in the near future. But why stop there? We want to give everyone this opportunity. That's why the online learning portion of the Jerusalem Prophecy College has been created, designed for students who desire to participate in the program but cannot attend the physical college in Jerusalem. With the online program, you can study from the convenience of your home with the flexibility to accommodate your schedule. Jerusalem Prophecy College helps to train a core group of leaders who can effectively minister to others in the end time. The next semester begins Monday, September 5th. Go to JerusalemProphecyCollege.com to register today. That's JerusalemProphecyCollege.com.
Welcome back to End of the Age, and this is Open Line. This is your day. The number to be on the air with me and Jim Stiglman, 877-END-TIME. And Jim, I know we've got a lot of callers waiting. Let's get right back to the calls.
All right, let's go now to Texas. And David, you're next up on End of the Age.
Hello, Irvin.
Hi, David.
Irvin, you mentioned the Protestant churches that are swinging back to the Catholic umbrella. and there's four of them I can name to you off the bat: the Methodists, Presbyterian Protestants, Methodist Protestants, Episcopalian Protestants, and Lutheran Protestants. Those four, I can definitely tell you that they're connected to Rome in the Catholic Church. And this we know for one piece article that the Catholic Church formulated. That's the Nicene Creed. All four of those churches still adhere and always have to the Nicene Creeds when supposedly they departed from the Catholic Church under Martin
David,
Luther.
what you're saying is true, but it's much worse than that. Because you're saying is true, but it's much worse than that.
I understand.
There are major evangelical leaders that now are planning on going to Rome in 2017. And I'm talking about Kenneth Copeland. I'm talking about Jim Robinson. They've already announced they will go there and sign this statement of unity of faith and purpose. And also, Joel Osteen already went to the Vatican, and according to the article I read, and I certainly hope it was not a false article, but I read it myself, said that he went into a confession booth and confessed his sins, saying, if I don't do this, then I can't expect to lead my people to do it, because they tend to bring all of Christianity together because they no longer believe in many of the fundamental biblical doctrines. They don't believe doctrine's important anymore. They don't believe baptism is essential for anything. I'm talking about, that's a general rule, and I don't want to speak evil of anyone, but I feel like I need to at least tell the truth, because we're at a crisis point in our world, and the Bible prophesies this is going to happen, and it's all coming to a head, and they're planning on bringing it to fruition in 2017.
All four of those churches that I mentioned and you mentioned have a very socialistic doctrine throughout their lifetimes of those churches, and that stems from the Catholic Church. This was always been very socialistic. That's why the communists knew they could, if they got John Paul II at the helm, which they did. In 1989, he had a meeting with Gorbachev, a president of Russia, and President of the United States, Herbert Walker Bush, and John Paul II had a meeting in Rome in 1989, and everybody can look this up on the internet and see when it happened. And that's when we first got wind of New World Order under Herbert Walker Bush, coming back and saying that very term to the American people when he came directly back from Rome from that meeting. So, and also it was said that John Paul II explained to Gorbachev how he could take down the world with socialism at that meeting, and at that point Gorbachev signed off on it. And this was right after Reagan left the White House, of course, and Herbert Walker Bush signed on to that doctrine. And we've had two political parties that have been socialist parties ever since. That's why nothing gets done when one party has the power in Congress over the other one. They're both on the same agenda.
David, a lot is getting done, but not what we want to get done. We're moving toward a world socialist government. It's called globalization or globalism. And by the way, I'm going to let you go, Dave, because I got a bunch of other people in line. I got a very short amount of time left. Thank you for the phone call. But I just want to tell everybody out there that in the new magazine, I'm talking about the September-October issue. You just probably got your latest issue, which has got a very important article in there on the Pope receiving the Charlemagne Prize and what all that means. But in the new magazine, which will come out September-October, which you definitely should get, I've written an article on globalism and how all of the world leaders, we actually have quotes from different world leaders pushing us toward one world government. The most critical issue in the elections this coming November is globalism. Argue about everything else you want to argue about, and none of us agree with any of the candidates on everything. But there's one big issue, I call it the 800-pound gorilla in the living room, that we have to realize, and that is, will we be moving into global government or will national sovereignty survive? That's the big issue. One candidate is for globalism. The other one says, no, we have to protect the sovereignty of the United States of America. That is the biggest issue, because the Bible prophesies that the Antichrist will soon arise and rule over a one world government. And right now we're trying to be pushed into it. But all of a sudden, this particular campaign, the focus has become globalism versus national sovereignty. That is the biggest issue. Forget all the rest of them. That is the biggest issue because it has prophetic significance. I'm getting back to the phones now. Jim, let's move as fast as we can.
All right, let's go now to Indiana. And Jim, you're next up on End of the Age.
Yeah, hello.
Hi, Jim.
Yeah, I was just wondering, I seen Obama once get caught without a teleprompter, and you could see fear in his eyes, and he stuttered, and I got a scary feeling myself. What if all the presidents been reading a script, and we don't know who's really making the decisions? I was wondering what you thought about that concept, if it was a possibility.
It is a possibility. There are people behind the scenes with very great power. And if you get down to the bottom of it, it's the people that control the money. There's an old slogan, he who has the gold makes the rules. It's called the golden rule. And that is true. If you do not have the donations to run for office, it is now so expensive. You got to have hundreds of millions of dollars to have a chance of being elected to the presidency. And that's a horrible thing. I wish we could find a way to get rid of it because money corrupts. But it is true. Money people have very powerful control. Let me give you one example. David Rockefeller, one of the wealthiest people ever in the United States of America, he was the chairman of the board for Chase Manhattan Bank, now known as Chase Bank, for many, many years. His protege was Henry Kissinger. I read the memoirs of David Rockefeller, which were published in 2002, and on page 405, Rockefeller said, "Me and my family have been accused by many people of working toward a new global order, a world government, if you please." He said, "If that's the charge, I'm guilty, and I am proud of it." Now, we're talking about the man who probably appointed the last several chairmen of the Federal Reserve Board. That's where Paul Volcker came from. I'm trying to remember the other person's name right now, Greenspan. He was very closely associated with David Rockefeller. And David Rockefeller was asked to be the chairman of the Federal Reserve, and he refused. He said, "I don't have time, but I can give you recommendations." So he's been choosing the people that control America's money for many, many years, and he believes in one world government. And the article on globalism, I give quote after quote after quote. It'll be in our next magazine. So if you're not a subscriber, all of you out there, subscribe now because you don't want to miss that particular edition of Endtime Magazine. That's where we are right now. And you're absolutely right, Jim.
Do you think there might be fireworks if Trump comes through with being his own man?
Well, he's under tremendous pressure to conform right now. And he is trying, but he's inexperienced. Ladies and gentlemen, we need to be very prayerful that God will help us. Now, let me tell you, I don't care who's elected, we're still going to have the greatest revival this world has ever known. However, this election could open the way for that revival or could throw roadblocks in the way to try to stop it. And that's the reason that we need to return to the Constitution of the United States and the values, the Judeo-Christian values that has made America great. When Donald Trump said, "We're going to say Merry Christmas again once I'm elected," it was such a simple way of saying it. But we've got into all this political correctness, so you have to say Happy Holidays, and we're like ashamed of our Judeo-Christian heritage. We got to forget that. We don't want the foreigners who come to live amongst us to change us. If they want to come in, let them change to American culture and American values. If they don't want to change to American values, they should stay where they are, where their present values are in power. Got to let you go, Jim. Let's get back to the phones, and Jim Stiglman, back to you.
All right, let's go down to Kentucky, and Joe, you're next up on End of the Age.
Hello, Joe.
Yes.
What's on your mind?
I have been finding out, lately that Donald Trump has been changing his immigration on the illegal alien problem. And I've been talking to some people, and they all say that the Republican establishment and the Republican Party bosses have been getting to him and trying to make him change, his political views and his policies. Now even people like John Hannity from Fox News he already has changed his positions as far as deporting all these millions of illegal aliens here. And I'm a born again. I'm a born again person. Okay, and I follow the Bible and follow the Lord as far as helping people and stuff like that. But if we allow even those illegal aliens that have been here for 20, 25 years, and of course they have children and all the stuff, if we allow them to stay here, we're going to send a bad message to the rest of the world that they come illegally and they can stay here for a few years, and then eventually we're going to let them stay here.
Well, let me tell you this, Joe. Donald Trump, of course, I'm sure he reads public opinion polls, and they're probably telling him that that's one of his stances that is the least acceptable with a lot of people, because people say, wait a minute, I have neighbors, I have friends, I have even people that's married into my family. They've been over here for 10, 20 years. I can't even tell them from everybody else now. They're all integrated. Therefore, to yank them up and make them leave, many people think that's unjust. From the very beginning, I told my wife, I said, look, if I were elected president, I would build that wall, I would secure the borders, and then I would find a way to wipe the slate clean and get things back on the right track. And here's one reason I've always felt that way. And again, a lot of people may disagree with me, and that's okay. The reason I felt that way is because our leaders have encouraged all those people to come in. Those people saw a big green light when they hit the border. Come on in. We want you here. And the reason we wanted them here was because we needed the additional labor pool, because people aren't having enough kids today. So if we're going to grow our economy, we need more people to hold the jobs. That's what's happened over the last 30, 40, 50 years. Now that we've got them all here, now they've produced all kinds of problems. So are we going to bundle up people like that and send them back, that our own government encouraged them to come here? I'm not sure that that's really a wise situation to do. Yet at the same time, any of them that do not hold Judeo-Christian values should certainly come. And the ones who do stay, we should not give them the vote. Because if you give them the vote, they have the ability to change our country into their own image, which we don't want them to do. So consequently, and also if there's any of them that are involved in criminal activities, they need to be out immediately. But again, I'm not even trying to take a political stance here. I'm just simply telling you that that's the kind of pressure that Donald Trump is over. And I'm not so sure that he shouldn't reappraise it, but he doesn't look good. He looks like he's flip-flopping, really. Well, listen, we're totally out of time. And thank all of you for participating today. We always appreciate you. If you'd like to be a partner with Endtime Ministries, 800 Endtime is the number. And don't forget our conference here in Springfield, Saturday night and Sunday morning. God bless you all. I'll see you Monday.
End of the Age is a production of Endtime Ministries. This broadcast will be available on our website, endtime.com, in the archives section. On our website, you'll also find more information about how current events are fulfilling Bible prophecy. To reach our operators, call 1-800-ENDTIME. That's 1-800-363-8463. Endtime Ministries is partner supported. We would like to say thank you to our partners who made this broadcast possible. To do what Matthew 24:14 said, to reach the world with the gospel of the kingdom.